Howdy, my name is Carson Cray,
Howdy, my name is Cheney Elliott.
and this week we are starting a brand new podcast called Archery Academia.
It is gonna be pretty crazy, if you ask me.
So, this week we're just going to tell you a little bit about ourselves and our interaction with archery and school and everything.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Archery Academia.
Okay, so let's just start out with a little bit about who we are as people. And how about we start out with where we're from? So, I'm from Richmond, Virginia.
I'm from this great city called Dallas, Texas.
Your Texas accent really came out in that one.
Thank you. I perfected it.
You know, I'm starting to get a little bit of an accent too.
I know. I'm forcing it on you.
Let's tell them a little bit about how we met.
That's an interesting story.
So, we both go to this great school called Texas A&M.
Best D1 school out there by far. Only for archery, though.
Definitely the best school for archery. We're coming for that collegiate title. So, why did you pick Texas A&M?
Why I picked A&M? Ooh, that's a tight question. Literally growing up, I was told being an Aggie is an honor and a fantastic degree. Now that I am here, it is true. It's a hard degree, but it is true. And so starting at the ripe age, I want to say 4 or 5, I wore A&M gear. I did the yells. I did all this stuff. But the only reason I'm sitting at this campus right now is because of archery. It is because that I got in for how I shoot. But what about you? You got a little backstory.
I'm going to be completely honest. I didn't even know Texas A&M was a school until about a year before I applied.
Which is a sin, by the way. That is a sin.
It totally is. Now that I'm here, it's just wrong. How could I not know about this amazing school?
You got in for academics, though, right?
Well, I got in for both academics and archery. About 3 years ago now. Collegiate Nationals was held in my great state of Virginia. And I saw this amazing team with great team spirit, and I was like, they're kind of cool. And they're like, yeah, we're Texas A&M. So I looked into it, and they were actually one of the top engineering schools. We're in the top 10, I think. Of course, I wanted to do computer science, if you didn't know. And I was like, this school has computer science and archery. That's awesome. So that's why I wanted to come here. I went from, I don't know where I want to go, to Texas A&M. That's the school I want to be at.
We didn't even touch on how we met. So we figured out that we both wanted to go to A&M, and we went to A&M. We got here, we chilling, we're vibing, being, freshmen. If you're a college kid, you understand freshman year is a little rough.
It is very crazy. You're picking up on a whole new schedule. You're learning to take care of yourself fully for the first time.
I think where me and Carson really kicked off this relationship and friendship was definitely outdoor collegiate nationals, because we known of each other, but it was one of those things, being a freshman, being a little awkward, and also with archery, I want to talk to you, but you're also competition, so I want to be like mean to you, but I also want to be your friend because we're teammates. So it was like back and forth, back and forth. That's how I felt. And then collegiate nationals, we agreed on so many things and we shot so good together that I was like, nope, this is my friend.
Yeah, we did really good in teams.
We did really good. That was fantastic for teams.
We had really good synergy with us, and honestly, most of the other compound girls.
Yeah, we're very solid. The whole team, I just love the A&M archery team. Can I just rant about that? That team, the spirit behind them, the energy, the drive that they have for us and for everyone else on the team as a school, as an individual, as a sport, they just throw their hearts into it. And it is one of the coolest things I think I've ever seen.
It's so great because I can genuinely say that if I am having any troubles with my bow, with my school, with whatever, I can send a single message in the group chat and at least 2 to 3 people will DM me saying, here's help, or here's where you can get help, or here's what to do, that kind of thing, where Where I feel at other schools, it's very, you're on your own.
Definitely, definitely agree. Done that multiple times with my bow. Hey, I don't know. I don't have a screw for this. Hey, where's an Allen wrench I can borrow? It is so great. Hey, I need to set up for 3D. Can someone help me? And three different people come and help me. And it's just so welcoming and warm.
I actually remember coming back from outdoor nationals. My bows got stuck in Philly, and I did have a bow, but I didn't have anything else. So I ended up sending out a message to the group chat. Hey, does anyone have a release, stabilizers, anything I can use just to put together a bow for the week so I can shoot? And actually, quite a few people reached out to me, and I kind of Frankensteined a bow together for the week.
I remember that message. I completely forgot about that. See, that's the team spirit that we have. And I'm so happy with it. I love this school. I'm going to be so happy when I get my ring. I'm going to be so happy when I graduate. I'm going to miss this archery team. It's really made archery so much better for me.
It's so fun too because pretty much anytime you go out to the range, there's always someone there. And since we're all college kids, we do all have kind of the same sense of humor and
Definitely the same workload.
exactly. So everyone's just in it together.
Which, speaking on workload, Carson said that her major was computer science. My major is, in fact, forensic science, pre law. So it's basically forensic science, but more on the law paper side of it than the physical in a lab side.
And my major is actually a little bit more complicated than that. So I originally came in wanting to do computer science, but the way it's done at Texas A&M, you actually start as a general engineering major, and computer science is one of the most competitive engineering majors to get into. So I didn't quite make the cut. So going back to the drawing board, I looked at what I actually wanted to do with computer science, and I realized that it was graphics design. So instead of going for computer science, I am now in between majors and I am going to apply for and hopefully get into visualization, which is a mix between computers and art.
She is going to get into visualization because I believe in her.
Yep. And that just touches on the team spirit again.
Yes. Well, okay, what exactly are you wanting to do with your visualization degree? I don't think I've asked you that yet.
No, I don't think so. Funny enough, when I was in fourth grade, we had like the job fair, and I said, I want to be a graphics designer for Pixar. And then throughout high school and everything, I kind of strayed away from that. But looking into it, I really do want to get into rendering and design like that. So honestly, that might be where this path takes me.
Well, that is gonna be awesome. And by the way, the photo that we have for this podcast was designed by our lovely Carson Cray. It is fantastic. I love it so much, and I'm ready to see what else she can do.
Yeah, so what do you want to do with your forensic degree?
Yes, 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 yes. I always known that I want to be a law enforcement agent of some sort. And when I got to college, my heart was set on being a Texas game warden, which is basically, a lot of people don't know, the police of the animal and hunting world. So if you shoot a deer illegally, if you catch a fish that you're not supposed to, if you sell a duck on the back of your truck and you're not supposed to do that, I can arrest you for that. But I can also give you a speeding ticket. I can also give you a reckless driving ticket, that kind of stuff. I do a lot of different things, but I am one of the top ranked officers in Texas. My end goal, however, for where I want to retire is as a federal game warden, which is there's only about two or three in every single state, and you have to get voted in by a board to be in that position after being a state game warden for X amount of years. It all just depends. But that's what I want to use that for. And if not that, then I'm just gonna go work at like DPS or something.
Yeah.
Go work in a lab probably, or do parking tickets. I don't know. Something.
I'm sure you'll figure it out.
I got many paths. My last option is to be an archery teacher. Cause funny fact, I might be good at shooting a bow. I can't teach it. I can't teach how to shoot a bow. I can give a pointer, but if you come to me trying to ask me all these questions, I'm gonna be like, I don't know. Ask him. Cause I don't know how to do any of that.
I'm starting to learn a little bit more, but it's definitely one step at a time there.
Oh, yeah. It's wild. But on the topic of archery, Carson Cray, why do you shoot a bow?
When I started a while ago, well, I'll say I started in Girl Scout camp, the classic Genesis bow, and only once every summer was pretty much my experience with it, where I didn't shoot that much. And I kept begging my parents. I was like, please, please, can I get a bow? And they're like, no. And they kind of just pushed it along. And then finally, for my 14th birthday, they caved. They're like, okay, you have to shoot it for at least a year because, as we all know, as everyone who's listening to this podcast, archery is pretty expensive. So they're like, you have to shoot it for at least a year. And I was like, deal. And now, 5 years later, I love it. It's so much fun to me. I love the competitive aspect.
For an individual type sport, it is so amazing. It is fantastic. And it's perfect for people that don't really want to do a true sport, but they want to do something with their free time. I compare it a little bit to golf, but with golf, you have to be a little bit more physically fit, I guess. Anyone can hit a golf ball and anyone can shoot a bow. But I don't know, I feel like the entry for archery is a little bit lower than golf.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I definitely can't hit a golf ball, but I can shoot myself some mean arrows.
Agreed, but how I got into archery is a little bit funny. So my coach, he is technically my grandfather, and him and my dad shot archery probably for at least 10 years before I was even born, while I was young, like growing up. And so I always seen bows. I've been around them, I've known them, whatever. And I got hurt pretty bad playing competitive soccer, but I still wanted to do a sport. So they put me in archery. Competitively, I started when I was 12 years old. I've been probably shooting a bow for probably like since I was 8, just strong enough to pull it back. But 12 is when I really hit the ground and running, and it just built up from there. My coach, he has taught me everything that I know to this day, and he is still teaching me. He is such a fantastic coach, and I have to give him so much praise because he does it in his free time. He doesn't get paid by me, he doesn't have other people he coaches. He just does this sport for fun and was willing to take me under his arm and show me the ropes. And I'm so grateful for him because it got me into Texas A&M. And I'm so grateful for my dad because there was multiple practices where I was like, I don't want to go. I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to go because I'm done with school. And he made me. And I have to thank him so much. He is the one of the biggest reasons why I'm sitting here on this campus. Again,
Yeah, and parents just play into the sport so much. They can honestly make or break your experience with the sport. Because, yeah, it's nice to get you out of bed and stuff, but if it was overly forceful, I feel like.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. He knew my dad knew his boundaries. He knew when not to overstep them. But we're gonna have a episode about that. Let's just move on a little bit. So, next question I got for you, Carson Cray. What do you shoot? Give me a little rundown. What you got shooting at the arrows?
What was the question?
What equipment do you shoot?
So, both of us, for our audience, we both shoot compound.
And how many shoots are there? Like bow type.
So, in the collegiate archery world, there are 4 different bow types. There is compound, which is pretty much a compound. You can have a release aid, you can have stabilizers, you can have a sight. And if you don't know, a compound is basically a stick with some pulley systems on the end that make it easier to draw back. Then there is recurve, which is a curved stick with a string.
The one that everyone sees in the Olympics.
Exactly. So, yeah, so it's called Olympic Recurve, and it is a curvy stick with a string. And then they can also have stabilizers and sights, or they can have an aperture. It's not quite the same as compound, but it's an aiming device. And they have something called a finger tab, which is a leather
Thingamabob that they put on the string and it helps their fingers not get raw.
Yeah, as you can see, we are not recurvers.
We're gonna have someone on eventually. It's okay.
That's in the works, obviously, but
But then there's barebow, which barebows go hype. They're crazy.
shout out to my boy David Woodleaf. He's like the dad of the team. But barebow is basically a Olympic recurve, but you take everything off of it. You're not allowed to have a sight, you're not allowed to have stabilizers.
You know the saying where, "Oh, I have a stick, I have string, and I got arrows, I'm shooting a bow?" That is literally bow hunter. They have a stick, they have a string, and they have arrows.
Bare bow.
Bear bow.
Our fourth category is actually
Bow hunter. I always screw those 2 up. My bad.
fixed pin is technically the word for it, but more or less in other senses it is fixed pin, where it's a compound more or less. So it's a compound bow, but you have shorter stabilizers on it. There's actually a limit to how long your front stabilizer can be. So for me, my front stabilizer is 30 inches plus weights, where total their front stabilizer can only be, I think, 15 inches.
I think that's right. Yeah, 12?
Mm,
Thought it was 12. It might be 15, I could be wrong.
I think it's 15 total, like with the weights and everything.
Oh, okay, yeah, because typically they use a 12-inch bar. Yeah, 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 that's what it is, 15 total.
Yeah. And then they can have a sight, but there can be no magnification in it, and they cannot move it during competition.
Which is very difficult to not wanna just crank it whenever you're shooting off.
If you're shooting right the entire time, you want to give it just a couple clicks to the right, which basically just means moving your sight so where you're aiming is now putting it in the center rather than to the right of where you're trying to
Mhm,
aim.
mhm. And on compound, like, compound, shooters are allowed to touch their sight the entire time during the tournament. Bow hunter cannot touch that sight once the first scoring arrow has fired.
Yes, exactly.
And then they have to just aim off, which means instead of aiming at the middle of the target, they aim to the right or they aim high because they're hitting low. So it is a lot more, it's a lot harder. Each of these 4 disciplines has its strengths and has its weaknesses. Because some, like compound, you got the ability to fix everything, make everything perfect. But with that being said, your competition skyrockets because now everyone else has that opportunity to make their bow perfect, which means they have the opportunity to become perfect. So you get a lot of problems with each individual bow type, but them as a collective, there's so many different options that you can do and customizations, and it's crazy.
You know what's crazy? Do you know Connor Koffold, one of our people at Texas A&M right now? He actually tried to go through every single bow division and get All-American in every one of them.
Which all American means you placed a certain percentage out of all collegiate archers, and you get like I think like a medal or you get recognition, which is really good.
Yes, you get a medal, and actually mine's hanging on my wall, believe it or not.
I was close last year. I'm gonna get it this year. Watch me.
You're definitely going to get it this year. Let's go a little bit more in on our equipment. So I shoot compound and I shoot PSE, which is a brand.
There's like 5 main archery or compound archery brands.
Yeah, I'd say 5. There's Bowtech, Elite, Hoyt, Matthews, and PSE.
Darton.
Oh, Darton's also really big, so there's 6. And of course, there's a bunch more, but those are the main ones that pop up a lot.
Definitely. I shoot a Hoyt. I've always shot a Hoyt.
I've jumped around just a little bit. So I started with Matthews on the little Matthews mission, and then I switched to PSE for a bit, and then I went to Elite, which I loved when I was on it. But then I recently brought back out my PSE, and I loved it even more. And I'm actually currently in a partnership with PSE, and I'm getting some new bows from them. So let's talk about something a little bit more interesting.
Oh, okay. Let me hear it.
What is your favorite discipline to shoot? Like
Ooh, okay.
indoor, outdoor, 3D, and why?
So I guess let's preference there's 5 main disciplines. Like you said, indoor, outdoor, 3D, which 3D is foam animals that you shoot. It's very complicated. Then there's field archery, which is basically taking 3D an outdoor and they had a baby. I feel like that's a good way to describe it.
Yep.
And then, I guess NFAA, which
I feel
is
like that's more indoors,
so we can keep that
a different brand, I guess.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So mainly 4, because there's field, 3D, indoor, outdoor.
And we'll definitely talk about those more next week.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But I personally love indoors. I love it. That is what made me so good for outdoors, for field, 3D. Indoor archery is what made me who I am today.
And I personally love outdoors. That's where we differ a little bit there. So I'll shoot indoors and
And she's good at it. Don't let her lie to you. She's good at it.
I'll shoot indoors, and I do have my moments where it's where I like it. Obviously, it's still shooting my bow. I can't ever hate anything in the sport. Well, for the most part,
That's fair. That's fair.
but I definitely enjoy outdoors more. I love the challenge of the wind and the distance. And there's just something about being out in the sun and sweating and feeling like you're really doing something.
That sounds miserable.
Yeah, it might sound miserable to some, but just the feeling of being outside and shooting at this far target and hitting pretty good, pretty consistently, and just being like, I am good at something. This is what I'm good at. I just there's something about it.
No, I totally get it. Like last year was the first year that I ever shot outdoors archery. And the only reason I was good at it was because you showed me the rope. You showed me how to do it. You showed me how to shoot that sport. And you know what? I'm very great for that because it made me happy. It really, I definitely agree. I might not like having to walk the 50 meters, but I do agree that outdoor archery is a lot of fun. I just still prefer indoor because I'm better at that.
I also feel like in outdoor, there's a lot more variation of what you do. So in indoor, there's really only a couple things you can do. You can shoot 30 arrows. There are a couple games we play to mix it up, obviously. Like we play Swedish Dot, which is basically a
Ooh.
closest to center every arrow.
Mhm, mhm.
The range gets a little heated when we pull that game out.
Oh, it's crazy.
And it's even crazier when a recurve beats us.
Oh, that was wild.
Shout out to Venu.
Oh my lord, Vano. You're cracked.
Honestly, all of our recurvers are. They're wild.
We're stacked. We're stacked on all, I think on all 4 disciplines. But backtracking. Outdoor is definitely a mental and physical game. Indoor is all mental. Because indoor, everyone shoots the same distance. Everywhere should look the same. The target face is the exact same. The only difference is you're shooting it and not that other person. So it is truly just a mental game of not getting in your head and thinking, oh, I can't miss this arrow. Or, oh, if I shoot this, I'll be able to get this. Can't think like that, which we'll get more into that with the mental side of it later, but it's a challenge. I just prefer indoor.
Yeah, and as I was saying, outdoor has you have your qualification round, which is 72 arrows, and then you have eliminations and team rounds and mixed teams, and I just think those are all really fun. I love doing mixed teams and teams.
The team stuff and the eliminations, I really wish we did that inside.
Oh, me too.
I wish. Oh, it's so much fun.
Let's go ahead and wrap this up just a little bit. And how about you give me the top 3 moments in your archery career?
Ooh, that's a solid question. You put me on the spot. I think my third is getting my JAWAD bronze Olympic medal for indoors and for outdoors in the same year. My second is definitely getting my silver indoor Olympic pin. That was phenomenal. I shot a 294. I loved that day, and that was a solid day. It was actually at Indoor Nationals, funny enough, which is coming up next week.
At the time of this recording.
But I want to say my number one was kind of split because it's either what happened at Vegas this year, which this year I shot my personal best at Vegas, which was a 299. I cannot be more happy with. Or it has to be that on the young adult side of compound at Vegas, again, a huge tournament, massive tournament. I placed 5th out of like 90 something girls. I placed 5th and I was so happy.
Yeah, I love that feeling of doing so good.
It was so great. Yes, definitely. Either of those two could be my first. What about you, Carson Craig?
I have a couple moments that are pretty good. So I think my third best, the bronze medal goes to, it would have to be the first World Youth Championship I went to. I had a lot of fun. I did pretty well, but it was also my first world experience. So obviously, there are some things I learned and took away from that. I was so nervous.
I bet you were.
I was freaking out, but I did pretty well for that. And then my silver would have to go to the most recent World Youth, which would be the one from Ireland, because I was actually on stage for that one. We got the USA Junior Compound Women team got bronze, and I was a part of that team. And honestly, it was so much fun. Shout out to Sydney and McKenna. They're both amazing archers, and it was so much fun to shoot with them.
Congrats to all three.
And then my gold would have to be the third World Cup in Paris this year, or fourth World Cup actually, because I had the privilege of going on it. And that's so exciting because it's my first senior trip, world trip. Again, so nervous. I definitely fumbled a little bit, but I think I did pretty well overall.
You'll be okay.
And I'm excited to go on the next one.
I'm ready to see you out there. I'm ready to watch you.
That's not scary at all.
Nah, you'll be fine. You're a strong shot. You know how to shoot under pressure. You showed me. You shoot very fast. It puts pressure on people.
Oh, yeah. I shoot so fast.
It's ridiculous. But with that being said, I guess, is this the end of the first episode?
I think it is. I think that was a great conversation and everything. So we shall see you guys next week where we will be discussing the different disciplines and different.
Basically, archery mumbo jumbo condensed in between two people talking about it. Literally anything we can think of that's archery, we're going to talk about.
Yeah, it's gonna be an overview of archery. We're gonna talk about indoors versus outdoors versus field and everything in between.
Different bow type. Why does this release do this, but that one doesn't? What's the difference between V bars and a single bar?
Who knows? We might even have a guest. Probably not.
Oh my gosh, not a guest. Not a guest. Oh no.
Anyways, thank you for tuning in.
Thank you. Thank you. We will see everyone in the next episode. Bye, guys.
Bye.